Do you ever notice how small things can ruin your entire day? A harsh comment, someone's rude look, a stressful message, or even bad news. It's like your mood disappears instantly. Why do we let other people, situations, or even our own thoughts control how we feel? The truth is, most people live on autopilot, reacting to everything around them, letting stress, anger, or worry steal their energy. But here's the reality: your peace is yours. No one can touch it unless you let them. In this video, you'll discover how to stop letting anything affect you, how to protect your mind, and how to stay calm no matter what happens. You'll learn practical steps to pause before reacting, to respond with clarity, and to keep your focus where it belongs, on your life, your goals, and your growth. By the end, you'll have the tools to take control of your emotions, preserve your energy, and walk through every moment with confidence, calm, and strength. Your mindset can change everything, and it starts right here, right now. Chapter 1. Notice how your thoughts control your feelings immediately. Every single day, you make hundreds of choices, and the one choice that often goes unnoticed is the choice of what you allow into your mind. You wake up, and immediately your mind begins to talk to you. Thoughts appear as if they are small whispers, but they are powerful. They have the ability to shape your mood, your actions, and ultimately your life. Your feelings, whether calm, stressed, anxious, or joyful, are the results of your thoughts. Every reaction you have is a reflection of what you allowed to enter your mind first. If you pay attention, you will notice that it is not the situations around you that control you. It is your thinking about those situations. Your mind decides how you feel before your body even moves. This is a fundamental truth in life. When something happens, whether someone says something unkind, a situation goes wrong, or you remember a painful moment from the past, your reaction does not start in your heart. It starts in your mind. You think about it, and your body follows. Your heart reacts, your muscles tense, your stomach tightens, your energy shifts, all because of one single thought. That thought might be about fear, frustration, sadness, or anger. The moment you notice it, the moment you recognize it, you take control of your life. The first step in this process is awareness. Most people live their lives on autopilot. They wake up, they react, they go through the day, and at the end of the day, they wonder why they feel so drained, so upset, or so unhappy. They do not notice the subtle way that thoughts control their feelings. Imagine if you could pause for a moment, notice your thought, and realize that this thought does not have to define your day. This is where freedom begins. The power to stop letting anything affect you starts with noticing. Notice the thought. Name it. Is it fear? Is it doubt? Is it anger? Is it a memory that keeps replaying in your head? By simply labeling it, you take away some of its power. When a thought is left unidentified, it grows in the shadows. It becomes bigger and stronger than it really is. You feel it in your chest, in your stomach, in your energy. It builds silently until it spills over and you react, often in ways you later regret. Awareness is your first tool taking back control. Once you notice the thought, examine it. Ask yourself, is this thought true? Is it helpful? Does it serve me in the way I want to live my life today? Many thoughts we have are automatic. They come from old habits, past experiences, or fear of what might happen. They are not always true, and they are not always. Often they are just interpretations, assumptions, or stories we tell ourselves. By questioning your thoughts, you begin to separate yourself from them. You see them as something you can manage instead of something that manages you. This is a powerful shift in thinking that changes your emotional state instantly. The moment you understand that your feelings are not caused by the world, but by your thoughts, you gain control. A harsh word from someone does not make you angry. A mistake at work does not make you frustrated. Your thoughts about the word, about the mistake, that is what causes the emotion. Your mind creates the feeling. This is freedom, because it means you can choose your thoughts. You can decide what to focus on. You can decide which thoughts get your attention and which ones you discard. The next part of this practice is practice itself. This is not something that happens once or twice. It is not something you read and forget. You have to train your mind daily. Start by noticing your thoughts in small moments throughout the day. When you feel tension, stop for a moment. Ask yourself, what am I thinking? Where did this feeling come from? Who is controlling my mood right now? Your thoughts are like the radio playing in the background. You cannot always control the song that starts, but you can control the station you tune into, and you can change the volume. One of the most common mistakes people make is letting thoughts go unchecked. They hear a criticism and immediately feel hurt. They receive bad news and immediately feel hopeless. They remember something from the past and immediately feel regret. These automatic reactions happen because they never stop to notice the thought first. The brain is wired to respond to stimuli, but the mind is the filter. The mind decides how the stimuli will affect your emotions. You have the power to create a pause, a space between stimulus and response. This space is your opportunity to choose your emotional state. This is where real power lies. You can start this practice right now. Take a moment and think about something that recently upset you. Think about how you reacted. Now imagine noticing the thought before the feeling appeared. Imagine labeling it. Imagine asking yourself if it is true or helpful. Now imagine deciding not to give it any more energy. Imagine letting the feeling pass through without letting it take over your day. This is not wishful thinking. This is a mental exercise. It takes focus and repetition. It takes willingness to see your thoughts for what they are, temporary and manageable. Another important part of this is understanding that not all thoughts deserve your attention. Some thoughts are random, meaningless, or destructive. These thoughts try to grab your focus because they are loud, emotional, or repetitive, but you have the ability to redirect your mind. Instead of focusing on what went wrong, you can focus on what can be done right. Instead of focusing on what someone said that hurt you, you can focus on the truth about yourself. Instead of focusing on what you cannot control, you can focus on what you can control. This redirection is a skill, and like any skill, it grows stronger the more you use it. Feelings are temporary. Thoughts are temporary. Even intense anger, deep sadness, or anxious worry will pass if you do not feed them. But if you let them take over, if you let them control your energy and your attention, they will dominate your day. They will affect how you interact with others, how you make decisions, and how you see yourself. By noticing your thoughts immediately, you cut this cycle, you interrupt it, you put yourself back in the driver's seat of your life. You also need to understand that noticing your thoughts is not about judging yourself. It is not about being hard on yourself. When you feel fear, anger, or sadness, it is about seeing clearly. You are observing, not criticizing. You are observing, not criticizing. You are becoming a conscious human being instead of a passive one. This observation allows you to step back from the drama of life, from the chaos around you, and from the noise inside your head. You begin to understand that you do not have to take every thought seriously. You do not have to let every situation shake. You do not have to carry every emotion as if it is permanent. You can notice, acknowledge, and then release. Practice also includes repetition throughout the day. Set reminders for yourself. Check in with your thoughts during meals, during breaks, during moments of waiting. Notice when your mind drifts to complaints, fears, or anger. Notice when your energy dips or your mood shifts. Ask yourself, What am I thinking right now? Who or what is controlling my feelings? Then choose differently. Over time, this becomes automatic. The first reaction is still there, but the second reaction, the conscious choice, becomes your new habit. You will also notice a shift in your relationships when you do this. When you stop letting every word, action, or attitude of others affect you, you respond from clarity instead of emotion. You listen more deeply, you act more deliberately, you bring calm instead of chaos. People notice it. Life becomes smoother because you are no longer reacting to the small irritations that used to control your energy. Your power grows quietly, consistently, and effective. This practice changes the way you live every day. You feel lighter, calmer, and more in control. You do not waste energy on things that do not matter. You can focus on what truly matters: your goals, your growth, and your peace. You stop letting the opinions, mistakes, or negativity of others shape your life. You begin to live on your terms, guided by conscious thought and deliberate action. You begin to notice that your mind is your most valuable tool, and also your greatest weapon. It is not always easy. Old habits are strong, automatic reactions are quick. The mind loves to wander and grab onto drama, but every moment you notice your thought before it controls your feeling, you grow stronger. Every pause you take between stimulus and response strengthens your mind. Every time you question a negative thought, you weaken its hold. Every time you choose a helpful thought, you reinforce your power. It is a practice, a daily commitment, and a lifelong habit. Your life will change the moment you truly understand that thoughts control feelings, and feelings control actions. Your reactions are not random. Your energy is not stolen by chance. Your peace is not determined by the world. You have a choice. You can notice your thoughts, question them, redirect them, and decide how you will feel. This is personal responsibility. This is freedom. This is empowerment. Every human being has the same opportunity. Nobody is born immune to difficult situations, critical people, or stressful circumstances. What separates those who live with peace from those who live in chaos is this simple skill: noticing thoughts before they take control. It is not taught in school. It is not obvious in life, but once learned, it transforms everything. You no longer react automatically. You no longer give power away. You become the observer, the decision maker, and the guide of your own life. You can start today, right now. Notice a thought. Ask yourself if it deserves your energy. Question its truth. Decide your feeling. Practice this throughout the day. Repeat it tomorrow. Repeat it the next day. Keep noticing. Keep questioning. Keep choosing. Over time, your mind will become your ally instead of your enemy. Your feelings will no longer dictate your life. Your energy will stay yours. Your focus will stay on what matters. Your life will become intentional. This is the first step to stopping anything from affecting you. The foundation of emotional freedom is noticing your thoughts immediately. Every day, practice this with patience and commitment. Your life is worth the effort. Your peace is worth the attention. Your mind is worth training. And as you strengthen this skill, everything else in life becomes clearer, easier, and more rewarding. Notice your thoughts, own your feelings, choose your life. Chapter 2. Refuse to give strangers power over your mood. Every day you encounter people whose words, actions, or attitudes could easily shake your mood. It might be someone in traffic cutting you off, a colleague making a critical comment, a stranger speaking harshly to you, or even someone posting something online that sparks irritation. The instinct in most humans is to react immediately. You feel a jolt of anger, a wave of frustration, or a pinch of sadness. Your energy shifts without your permission. The challenge in life is that many people hand over their emotional power to others without realizing it. The solution is simple in concept but requires practice. You have to decide that no one outside of you will control your emotional state. The first step is understanding that your emotions belong to you. Nobody has the right to dictate how you feel. Your feelings are not determined by the tone of someone else's voice or the harshness of a stranger's behavior. When you allow someone else to influence your mood, you are voluntarily giving them control over your day, your actions, and even your decisions. The key is awareness. The moment you recognize that your mood has been affected by an outside force, you take the first step toward reclaiming it. You become conscious of your choice. Awareness alone, however, is not enough. You must consciously refuse to surrender your emotional control. This requires a shift in perspective. Instead of reacting to someone else's negativity, you pause and ask yourself why their words or actions matter to you. Often, the person has no personal connection to your life. Their behavior says more about them than it does about you. By internalizing this fact, you begin to create distance between their energy and your emotional response. You develop the ability to observe without absorbing. Another critical practice is learning to detach. Detachment does not mean indifference or lack of compassion. It means maintaining a firm boundary around your emotional well-being. You can witness negativity without internalizing it. You can hear harsh words without allowing them to penetrate your confidence. You can encounter rude behavior without letting it define your day. This requires mental discipline and consistent practice. You begin to notice the difference between what belongs to you and what belongs to others. You identify the line where your responsibility ends and theirs begins. One practical method to maintain this boundary is through deliberate choice. Each time someone attempts to provoke you or push your buttons, you decide consciously how to respond. You can respond calmly, with clarity, or with neutrality. You can even choose to walk away. Each moment you choose not to let someone else control your mood, you strengthen your emotional resilience. This is not a one-time effort. It is a habit that is built incrementally, moment by moment, encounter by encounter. Over time, it becomes second nature. It is also important to understand that not all triggers are external. Sometimes, you carry unresolved emotions from past experiences into the present. A stranger may unintentionally tap into these old wounds, making you feel more reactive than necessary. By acknowledging this, you can differentiate between your past and present emotions. This awareness allows you to respond logically instead of reacting impulsively. You reclaim your energy by refusing to let old pain dictate your current mood. Consider the times you have felt anger from a stranger. Perhaps someone cut you off in traffic, and you felt your blood pressure rise. Maybe someone criticized your work publicly, and your heart raced. The moment you realize that your anger is your choice, you step into control. The situation itself is neutral. The reaction is personal. You are responsible for your response. This understanding empowers you to refuse giving away your peace. You recognize that the external behavior is not a command over your inner life. Mental rehearsal is another tool for maintaining control. Take time daily to imagine situations where strangers might attempt to provoke you. Visualize yourself remaining calm, grounded, and unaffected. Picture the words or actions occurring, but see yourself responding with composure. This exercise trains your brain to handle real-life situations with confidence. The more frequently you practice, the more automatic this response becomes. Your mind begins to expect challenges and meets them with steadiness rather than reaction. It is also necessary to examine your beliefs about external influence. Many people unconsciously believe that others have power over them. These beliefs may have been formed in childhood or reinforced through repeated experience. Perhaps you grew up in an environment where criticism was taken personally, or where anger spread easily. These experiences create a pattern of giving away emotional power. By recognizing and challenging these beliefs, you begin to reconstruct a mindset where your emotions are your own. you realize that your feelings are under your command, not the command of someone else. Another strategy is practicing emotional buffering. This is the mental act of creating a protective space around yourself before encountering potential negativity. When entering environments where you anticipate stress or criticism, remind yourself internally that your mood is your responsibility. Affirm that outside actions will not dictate your feelings. This does not make you immune to everything, but it strengthens your ability to choose calm over chaos. Emotional buffering is not arrogance. It is self-respect. It is understanding the value of your energy and refusing to let it be wasted on matters that do not serve your growth. The habit of refusing to give strangers power also requires cultivating self-awareness in real time. Notice the physical signs that indicate your mood is being influenced. Perhaps your chest tightens, your jaw clenches, or your stomach knots. These signals are early warnings that your energy is being hijacked. When you detect them, immediately employ techniques to regain control. Deep breathing, conscious focus, or shifting attention to a constructive thought are simple but effective methods. Each time you intercept these physical and mental signals, you reinforce your autonomy over your emotions. It is equally important to remember that refusing to give others power does not require confrontation or engagement. Often, the more neutral and composed your presence, the less impact negative behavior has. When someone tries to provoke a reaction, your calmness acts as a natural boundary. You do not need to argue, justify, or explain. Silence, composure, and self-possession communicate that your emotional state is not up for negotiation. People who thrive in life understand this principle. They protect their energy and do not allow the noise of others to disrupt their focus. Refusing to give others power also involves evaluating your attention. Many people unknowingly feed negativity by dwelling on it mentally. They replay harsh words, imagine insults, or consider offenses repeated. By redirecting attention to productive thoughts, tasks, or goals, you deny the negative influence a foothold in your mind. You choose what deserves your energy and what does not. Your mood becomes aligned with purpose rather than distraction. Over time, this deliberate focus trains your mind to remain centered regardless of external circumstances. A critical psychological insight is that people often seek validation through the reactions of others. When you give strangers the ability to affect your mood, you are essentially surrendering your validation to them. They may never even know the power they hold, yet your happiness and confidence become contingent on their behavior. Recognizing this pattern allows you to reclaim self-validation. You affirm your worth internally. You measure success and satisfaction from your own standards. You no longer hand over your emotional stability to unpredictable sources. Another important practice is learning to detach from immediate interpretation. Not every comment or behavior from a stranger requires a reaction. Many actions are neutral or accidental, yet your mind interprets them based on personal biases or past experiences. By pausing and questioning the meaning you assign, you prevent unnecessary emotional disturbances. You create a mental space between stimulus and response. This space is where you exercise choice and refuse to allow the external factor to dictate your state. Consistency is key. There will be moments when a word or act feels heavy. When these moments arise, remind yourself of your training. Remind yourself that you control your mood, not the other person. This repetition strengthens the neural pathways that govern emotional self-regulation. It is the repetition of small decisions that builds a resilient mind. Each time you refuse to give strangers power, you reinforce a lifelong habit that shields your energy and allows you to live intentionally. Your life is a direct reflection of your emotional choices. When you refuse to give strangers control over your mood, you are no longer reactive but proactive. You choose energy over fatigue, clarity over confusion, calm over chaos. You take responsibility for your emotional state and model this behavior for others. People notice this steadiness. They respond to it positively. Your relationships improve because you are no longer swayed by minor irritations. Your productivity rises because you are not distracted by emotional disturbances. Your life becomes a reflection of your inner mastery. Remember, this is not about perfection. You will occasionally allow someone to affect your mood. That is human. The goal is progress, not perfection. The awareness, the refusal, the pause, the redirection, and a focus on internal validation. These are the tools that gradually shape your mind. Over time, these practices become natural. You are no longer at the mercy of random external forces. Your emotional state becomes something you actively cultivate. Your calm becomes a habit. Your peace becomes a skill. Finally, embrace the power of choice. Every day, you encounter dozens of situations where someone's words or actions could influence your mood. Each time, pause, notice, and decide. Decide that your peace is more valuable than the approval, criticism, or opinion of a stranger. Decide that your energy will not be wasted on what does not matter. Decide that your life will be guided by deliberate thought and intentional action. This is empowerment. This is freedom. This is the foundation for a life where no one outside of you can dictate your happiness, your confidence, or your calm. By practicing this consistently, you will notice profound changes. Stress, confidence grows, relationships improve. You operate from a place of clarity rather than reaction. Your mind becomes sharp, your heart remains steady, your life reflects strength, maturity, and purpose. Refusing to give strangers power over your mood is not just about controlling emotions. It is about taking ownership of your life. It is about refusing to surrender your energy to forces outside your control. It is about building a life that reflects your highest potential. Chapter 3. Question why you react before responding to anyone. Every interaction you have with someone carries the potential to affect your emotions. A sudden comment, a sharp tone, or even a simple gesture can trigger a reaction. The truth is, you do not have to react immediately. Most people live in a pattern of automatic responses. They hear a word and feel anger. They hear criticism and feel hurt. They hear a challenge and feel fear. These reactions happen so fast that they seem unavoidable, but in reality, every reaction is a choice. You can question it before acting. You can decide how to respond, and that decision will determine the quality of your day, your relationships, and your life. The first step is to recognize the automatic nature of human reactions. Many of your responses are learned behaviors. They are habits formed from childhood experiences, past disappointments, or repeated exposure to stress. These automatic reactions feel natural because your brain has practiced them repeatedly. A comment triggers anger, not necessarily because of the words themselves, but because it connects to something deeper inside you. Understanding this is the key to gaining control. Once you see that your reaction is habitual rather than inevitable, you can intervene and change it. Questioning your reaction begins with awareness. The moment you feel tension, irritation, or defensiveness, pause, stop before speaking, stop before acting. Notice the sensation in your body. Your chest may tighten, your jaw may clench, your stomach may not. These are physical signals that an emotional response is building. Then ask yourself a simple question: why am I feeling this way right now? Which part of this situation is actually affecting me? Is this my responsibility, or am I reacting to something outside of my control? By taking this small pause, you create a space to examine the source of your feelings before they dictate your behavior. Next, examine your interpretation of the situation. Often, it is not the external event that causes emotional disturbance, but the meaning you assign to it. A colleague's critical remark is not inherently personal, yet your mind may interpret it as an attack. A driver cutting in front of you is not necessarily intending harm, yet your brain interprets it as disrespect. Question the story your mind is telling you. Is it accurate? Is it helpful? Does it reflect reality, or just a habitual assumption? By challenging your interpretation, you reduce the power of automatic emotional reactions. Another important layer is self-reflection. Ask yourself, what past experiences are influencing my current reaction? Sometimes, a small incident today triggers a larger response because it taps into unresolved feelings from the past. You may have felt overlooked, criticized, or rejected before, and now your mind links the present moment to old memory. Recognizing these patterns allows you to separate past from present. You can acknowledge the emotional residue without letting it control your current behavior. When you practice questioning your reactions, you also strengthen your ability to respond deliberately. Instead of lashing out, withdrawing, or feeling helpless, you respond with clarity and intention. This deliberate response is empowering because it aligns your actions with your values rather than your impulses. You start to choose calm over chaos, reason over instinct, and purpose over distraction. Each moment of conscious questioning builds mental discipline and emotional resilience. It is essential to understand that questioning does not mean suppressing emotion. You are not denying how you feel, you are observing it. You are asking, why do I feel this way, and what is the best way to respond? Emotions are signals, not commands. They inform you about what is happening inside your mind and body, but they do not force you to act in any particular way. By separating observation from action, you gain mastery over the influence of your feelings. One practical method is to visualize potential reactions before engaging in challenging interactions. Anticipate situations where you might feel provoked. Picture yourself receiving criticism, facing disagreement, or encountering hostility. Then mentally rehearse pausing, noticing your internal response, and questioning it. Practice imagining calm and thoughtful reaction. This mental rehearsal prepares your mind to handle real-life situations with composure and intention. The more you practice, the more natural this questioning becomes. Another key strategy is cultivating curiosity instead of judgment. When someone says or does something that triggers you, approach it with the mindset of understanding rather than reacting. Ask yourself, what motivates this behavior? What circumstances might be influencing this person? How might my reaction affect the outcome? Shifting from immediate judgment to thoughtful curiosity allows your mind to engage logically instead of emotionally. It reduces impulsive reactions and increases clarity in decision-making. Questioning your reaction also involves accountability. Recognize that you are responsible for your behavior. Other people's words, actions, or attitudes are not your fault, but how you respond is. By holding yourself accountable, you regain the power that automatic reactions would otherwise take from you. Accountability is not blame, it is ownership. It is saying, I choose how I respond. I decide whether this moment disrupts my peace or strengthens my focus. This ownership is empowering and creates a profound sense of freedom. It is also helpful to practice slow responses. In conversations, especially difficult ones, resist the urge to speak immediately. Give yourself time to think. Let your mind process the information and consider the consequences of your words. When you respond slowly, your words carry more weight, your tone is measured, and your actions are intentional. Slow responses reduce conflict and foster understanding. They also give you a sense of control that reactive behavior can never provide. Awareness of physiological cues is another essential tool. Emotional reactions often start in the body before the mind fully processes them. Heart rate increases, breathing changes, muscles tense, and energy shifts. By noticing these early signs, you can intervene before the emotion escalates. Take a deep breath, step back mentally, and question your intended reaction. Ask yourself, is this response necessary, helpful, or aligned with my values? This simple act of monitoring your body is a powerful method for interrupting automatic reaction. It is equally important to examine the assumptions behind your reaction. Sometimes you assume someone is attacking you, criticizing you, or undermining you, when that may not be their intention. Question the validity of these assumptions. Are you projecting past experiences onto the current situation? Are you interpreting behavior through a lens of insecurity or fear? By challenging these assumptions, you reduce unnecessary emotional escalation and increase your ability to respond rationally and compassionately. Another aspect is emotional regulation through self-talk. The words you speak internally shape your response. When a triggering moment occurs, consciously guide your thoughts. Remind yourself that you are in control, that this is temporary, and that you can choose your reaction. Replace impulsive judgment with measured consideration. Over time, this internal dialogue rewires your brain, making calm questioning the default mode rather than reactive instinct. It is also necessary to recognize that questioning reactions strengthens relationship. When you respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively, conversations remain productive. Conflicts are resolved more effectively. Misunderstandings decrease. People respect your composure and clarity. By questioning before reacting, you create an environment where interactions are guided by reasoning rather than emotion. You become a source of stability, understanding and influence in both personal and professional contexts. The habit of questioning reactions also enhances decision-making. Impulsive reactions often lead to regret, mistakes, and wasted energy. Thoughtful responses lead to better outcomes because they are considered rather than reflexive. By pausing, analyzing, and questioning, you improve the quality of your choices. You align actions with long-term goals rather than short-term impulses. This habit develops mental clarity, emotional intelligence, and practical wisdom. You must also practice letting go of the need to always be right. Immediate reactions often stem from defensiveness or ego. When you question why you feel compelled to respond, you may discover that the urge to defend, prove, or retaliate is stronger than the actual importance of the situation. By letting go of the need to be right in every moment, you create space for calm reflection and thoughtful response. This does not diminish your strength. It strengthens your self-control and focus. Consistency in this practice is vital. Every day presents moments that could trigger immediate reactions. Each moment is an opportunity to practice question. Each pause, each mental check-in, each conscious decision to respond thoughtfully reinforces the habit. Over time, questioning before reacting becomes instinctive. Your brain trains itself to respond deliberately, your emotions stabilize, and your relationships benefit. The life you experience becomes smoother, more intentional, and less reactive. Finally, embrace the understanding that questioning your reactions is a lifelong skill. It is not something perfected overnight. It requires patience, awareness, and dedication. Each challenging encounter is an opportunity to refine this skill. Each reflection afterward is an opportunity to improve. The more you practice, the more resilient, thoughtful, and composed you become. Your life is shaped less by external triggers and more by deliberate choices. Your power grows silently yet consistently, affecting everything you do. By questioning why you react before responding, you take control of your life in ways that automatic reactions cannot provide. You gain mental clarity, emotional stability, and personal authority. You experience a sense of calm that is independent of external events. You make better decisions, build stronger relationships, and maintain energy for what truly matters. This skill transforms ordinary interactions into opportunities for mastery, growth, and self-respect. Every time you feel the instinct to react, pause, observe the thought forming, ask why it arises, examine its accuracy, its usefulness, and its relevance. Decide your response intentionally. Over time, this practice reshapes your mind, your emotions, and your life. You move from reactive to proactive. You step out of the chaos that governs most people and into a place of calm, clarity,
and control. Your life becomes a reflection of your conscious choices rather than the whims of circumstance. This is the essence of refusing to let automatic reactions dictate your behavior. It is the path to emotional mastery. It is the foundation for a life where you respond with wisdom instead of impulse. It is a practice that leads to freedom, confidence, and peace. By questioning why you react before responding to anyone, you reclaim your energy, strengthen your mind, and direct your life with intention and power.
Chapter 4. Break the habit of carrying other people's stress. Every day, people around you carry their own burdens, frustrations, and worries. Many of us have developed the habit of picking up these burdens as if they were our own. A friend vents endlessly about problems at work, a coworker complains about personal struggles, or even a stranger offloads negativity in passing conversation. Without realizing it, your mind and body begin to absorb these stresses. Your energy shifts, your mood changes, and your focus diminishes. You begin to feel tension that is not yours. This habit of carrying other people's stress quietly drains your emotional reserves and prevents you from performing at your best. The first step is awareness. Notice when you start to feel stress creeping in that is unrelated to your life. Pay attention to subtle signals in your body, tight shoulders, headaches, irritability or fatigue that comes without explanation. These are signs that you have absorbed energy from someone else. Recognizing this is crucial. You cannot address what you do not see. Acknowledging that you are carrying stress that does not belong to you is the doorway to freedom. Once you notice it, the next step is understanding the source. Whose energy are you carrying? Whose problems are you internalizing? Often, the desire to help, to comfort, or to empathize is so strong that it overrides boundaries. You may feel guilty for stepping back or think that ignoring someone else's stress is selfish. The truth is that carrying stress for others rarely solves their problems, and it comes at the cost of your peace. Understanding that each person is responsible for their own life allows you to separate their challenges from your emotional state. Detachment is a critical skill. Detachment does not mean indifference, coldness, or a lack of empathy. It means recognizing that their experiences are their responsibility, not yours. You can care, you can listen, and you can support, but you do not have to absorb the tension into your body or mind. Imagine yourself as a shield. You are open to support and understanding, but impervious to stress that is not yours. This mental practice allows you to maintain compassion without sacrificing your emotional stability. Setting boundaries is essential. Many people carry other people's stress because they have not defined limits. They allow others to dominate conversations with negativity, vent without consideration, or rely on them for constant reassurance. It is vital to communicate clearly and kindly that while you are willing to listen, you will not internalize or take responsibility for their emotional burden. Boundaries are acts of self-respect, not rejection. They protect your energy so that you remain strong, calm, and present in all areas of your life. Another practical approach is observing without absorbing. You can witness stress without internalizing it. Watch the emotions of others, but remind yourself that these emotions are separate from your own. Repeat internally that this is their challenge, not yours. By reinforcing this distinction in your mind, you prevent emotional transfer. You remain supportive and understanding without letting tension infiltrate your system. This is an act of conscious emotional hygiene. It is also important to notice your thoughts during interactions with stressed individuals. Many people carry stress because they ruminate on the problems of others. You may replay their words in your head, imagine worst-case scenarios, or feel responsible for finding solutions. Stop this immediately. Question whether these thoughts are productive or necessary. Are you solving the problem by internalizing it, or are you simply adding unnecessary weight to your mind? Learning to release these thoughts is a powerful step toward maintaining emotional independence. Stress is often contagious because humans are wired to empathize. The mirror neurons in your brain make you feel what others feel, sometimes automatically. Recognizing this biological response allows you to counteract it consciously. When you notice your body reacting to someone else's tension, use deep breathing, grounding exercises, or a moment of mental separation to regain composure. You can feel empathy without absorbing stress. You can connect without compromise to your peace. Another critical element is focusing on solutions rather than emotions. Many conversations about stress center around complaints or venting. If you must engage, steer your attention toward constructive outcomes. Encourage actionable steps rather than dwelling on frustration. If you cannot help solve the problem, allow the individual to take responsibility while you maintain clarity. Your energy is better spent on actionable matters in your own life rather than absorbing problems that are not yours to carry. It is also helpful to examine your motivations for carrying stress. Many people pick up the tension of others out of a need for approval or a desire to feel useful. They mistakenly believe that by absorbing stress, they are helping. In reality, you may be undermining both yourself and the person you are trying to assist. By remaining calm, composed, and supportive without internalizing, you actually provide a stronger presence. Your example of emotional stability can inspire others to manage their own stress more effectively. Practicing mindfulness during interactions is another tool. Stay aware of your own energy, thoughts, and feelings as you engage with stressed individuals. Periodically check in with yourself. Ask, am I absorbing this? Am I reacting internally? Am I taking responsibility for something that is not mine? By maintaining constant self-awareness, you prevent the automatic transfer of stress. You cultivate the ability to remain centered while others release tension around you. When you notice someone else's stress impacting your thoughts, consciously reframe the situation. Remind yourself that their stress belongs to them and that your role is limited to support, not absorb. Repeat affirmations such as, my energy is mine, I am responsible for my calm, or I can help without carrying their tension. Mental reframing strengthens emotional boundaries and creates a protective buffer around your well-being. Physical routines can also help. Stress that is absorbed from others often manifests physically. Engage in regular exercise, deep breathing, or grounding techniques to release residual tension. Physical movement communicates to your body that the stress is not yours and helps reset your emotional state. Simple habits like stretching, walking, or mindful breathing reinforce the mental boundary you have created and prevent prolonged emotional burden. It is also vital to manage your exposure. While it is noble to support others, constant proximity to stressed individuals without breaks can wear down even the strongest mental fortitude. Schedule time to step back, reflect, and recharge. Create mental and physical spaces where you can recover and regain your calm. Protecting your energy is not selfish, it is strategic. By maintaining your balance, you are more capable of being effective, helpful, and supportive when you do engage. Another important component is reflection. At the end of each day, review your interaction. Notice moments where you felt tension that was not yours. Ask yourself, how did I respond? How could I have maintained composure while being supportive? Reflection reinforces learning and prepares you to handle future interactions. Over time, this practice reduces the automatic absorption of other people's stress and strengthens your emotional resilience. Empathy is not weakened by boundaries. True compassion allows you to listen and acknowledge someone else's struggles while keeping your emotional independence. You do not have to fix their problems or internalize their tension. Simply being present, offering guidance when appropriate, and modeling calmness provides far more value than carrying the weight of their stress. Emotional separation enhances your ability to support others without depletion. It is also important to notice the mental dialogue that accompanies absorbed stress. Often, people internalize phrases like, I have to fix this, I cannot let this affect me,
or why am I feeling this so strongly? Replace these thoughts with statements of clarity. I am responsible for my own energy. I can listen without absorbing. And their stress is not mine. This intentional self-talk reinforces the mental boundary you are creating and strengthens your ability to remain unaffected. You must also cultivate patience with yourself. Breaking the habit of carrying other people's stress is a process. You will occasionally feel tension from someone else's problems. This is natural. The goal is progress, not perfection. Each moment you notice stress, pause, reflect, and release strengthens the habit of emotional independence. Over time, this becomes instinctive, and you will no longer carry burdens that do not belong to you. Consider the long-term impact of carrying stress. It reduces your focus, drains your energy, and diminishes your effectiveness. It can lead to tension-related health issues, irritability, and reduced creativity. By refusing to internalize other people's stress, you preserve mental clarity, emotional balance, and physical well-being. You create space to pursue your goals, nurture relationships, and maintain peace of mind. Emotional independence is a foundational skill for long-term success and happiness. Finally, embrace the power of choice. Every interaction presents an opportunity to decide whether or not you will absorb stress. You can choose to maintain calm, observe without internalizing, and support without taking responsibility for what is not yours. Each conscious decision strengthens your autonomy, reinforces your emotional boundaries, and cultivates resilience. This habit allows you to live with clarity, purpose, and energy that is yours alone. Breaking the habit of carrying other people's stress transforms your life. It frees your mind, restores your energy, and improves your relationships. It allows you to focus on what you can control, act with intention, and maintain consistent calm in all situations. By practicing awareness, detachment, boundaries, mindfulness, and reflection, you strengthen your ability to remain emotionally independent while still being compassionate and supportive. This skill empowers you to live intentionally, effectively, and peacefully, regardless of the challenges and burdens others may carry.
Chapter 5. Train yourself to pause before letting anger show. Anger is one of the most powerful emotions humans experience. It can surge without warning and influence your words, your actions, and even your decisions. Most people respond instantly when they feel it. A word, a look, a situation triggers a reaction, and before they realize it, they have said or done something they later regret. This automatic response gives anger control over your life. The key to managing it is simple yet profound. Learn to pause. Before anger can manifest outwardly, insert a conscious moment of awareness, reflection, and choice. This pause is your opportunity to reclaim your power and prevent regret. The first step is awareness. Pay attention to the earliest signs of anger. It often begins subtly, as tension in the shoulders, a tightness in the chest, a shallow breath, or a racing mind. These physical cues are your body's way of signaling that an emotional response is building. When you recognize them early, you create space to intervene. Anger does not need to dictate your actions. Your awareness gives you the ability to control it before it expresses itself. Once you notice the initial signs, acknowledge them without judgment. Anger is not a flaw or a failure. It is a natural human response, a signal that something feels threatening, unfair, or frustrating. By observing anger instead of immediately acting on it, you transform it from a destructive force into a message. You understand that the feeling is separate from your behavior. The pause begins with recognition and acceptance rather than denial or suppression. During this pause, it is essential to breathe intentionally. Deep, slow breaths help regulate the nervous system and slow down the emotional rush that anger creates. Breathing provides a moment of physical and mental reset. It reduces the surge of adrenaline that drives impulsive reactions and allows rational thought to enter. Each conscious breath reminds you that you are in control of your body and your mind, not the situation itself. Next, reflect on the cause of your anger. Ask yourself why you feel this way and whether the source is truly worth the energy. Often, anger arises not from the immediate situation, but from accumulated stress, unmet expectations, or personal frustration. By questioning the reason behind the feeling, you gain clarity. You can distinguish between minor irritations and genuine concerns, allowing you to respond appropriately rather than reacting impulsively. It is also important to consider the consequences of expressing anger. Quick reactions often lead to regret, damaged relationships, and lost opportunities. When you train yourself to pause, you create a mental space to evaluate potential outcomes. You ask yourself whether responding in anger will solve the problem or worsen it. This foresight shifts the focus from immediate emotional release to long-term benefit, encouraging wiser, more deliberate responses. Another essential practice is to identify your triggers. Certain people, behaviors, or situations provoke anger consistently. By recognizing patterns, you can anticipate reactions and prepare yourself. Awareness of triggers is not about avoidance, it is about preparation. You develop strategies to remain calm when confronted with these familiar stressors. Knowing what typically sparks anger allows you to pause more effectively, reducing the likelihood of impulsive responses. Visualization is a powerful tool in this process. Imagine scenarios where you typically react with anger. Picture yourself pausing before responding. See yourself taking a deep breath, assessing the situation, and responding calmly, or choosing not to respond at all. Mental rehearsal strengthens neural pathways and prepares your brain to respond intentionally in real life. The more often you visualize this, the more natural it becomes to implement in the moment. Language plays a critical role in controlling anger. Often people escalate situations through words spoken in haste. During your pause, consider alternative ways to communicate. Choose statements that express your perspective without aggression. Speak with clarity rather than force. Train yourself to express frustration as information rather than accusation. The pause allows you to filter your words, ensuring that your message is constructive instead of damaging. It is also important to separate personal ego from the situation. Anger is frequently fueled by pride, perceived disrespect, or a sense of injustice. When you pause, remind yourself that your self-worth is not dependent on others' actions or opinions. Your calm does not signify weakness, it demonstrates strength and self-control. By removing ego from the equation, you reduce the intensity of the emotional reaction and respond with composure rather than aggression. Physical techniques can complement mental pause. Clenching and releasing fists, gentle stretching, or stepping away momentarily are ways to channel energy without expressing it destructively. These small actions interrupt the automatic flow of anger and provide a tangible sense of control. The body and mind work together, and using physical cues reinforces the habit of pausing before responding. During your pause, consider asking questions internally. What is truly happening here? What is the root cause of my anger? How much of this is under my control? How can I respond in a way that serves me and those around me? Internal questioning shifts focus from reaction to strategy. It allows thought to guide action rather than emotion, dictating behavior. Over time, this practice transforms instinctive responses into intentional choices. Self-compassion is another essential element. Recognize that anger is natural and that pausing is a skill that requires practice. Do not judge yourself for moments when anger nearly escapes. Each attempt to pause strengthens the neural pathways associated with emotional control. Celebrate small victories when you manage to delay a reaction or respond thoughtfully. This reinforcement builds confidence and encourages continued growth. It is also beneficial to evaluate the timing of your response. Not all reactions require immediate expression. Sometimes waiting until emotions settle allows for a more constructive conversation. The pause helps you distinguish between the need for immediate communication and the benefit of delayed engagement. This distinction improves both personal and professional interactions and prevents unnecessary escalation. Cultivating patience is central to this process. Impulse is the enemy of control. When you pause before reacting, you are exercising patience and creating a habit of thoughtful deliberation. Patience allows you to see beyond the momentary surge of emotion and consider the broader context. It gives you perspective and allows rational thought to guide behavior rather than letting anger dominate. Journaling or reflective writing can reinforce this training. After moments where anger arose, note the triggers, physical sensations, thoughts, and eventual response. Review these entries to identify patterns and progress. Reflection strengthens awareness and provides insight into your emotional habit. Writing down experiences also externalizes internal tension, helping prevent it from accumulating unnoticed. Mindfulness practice enhances your ability to pause. Regular attention to the present moment improves awareness of subtle emotional shifts. Mindfulness trains your mind to observe sensations, thoughts, and feelings without immediate reaction. As you cultivate this skill, the pause before anger becomes instinctive. You notice tension rising, recognize its presence, and act with deliberate intention. It is also important to focus on solutions rather than blame. Anger often stems from perceived injustice or frustration. During your pause, ask yourself what action, if any, will address the situation constructively. Redirect energy from reaction to resolution. This approach channels emotional intensity into productive behavior rather than destructive impulses. Another key practice is breathing combined with visualization. While taking slow breaths, imagine releasing tension from your body. Picture anger flowing out and leaving space for calm and clarity. This simple exercise reduces physiological arousal and creates mental distance from the stimulus. The combination of breath and visualization reinforces the effectiveness of the pause. Surrounding yourself with calm influences supports this habit. Observing others who respond thoughtfully, rather than impulsively, provides a model to emulate. Learning from those who maintain composure teaches alternative ways to navigate challenging situations. Exposure to calm behavior reinforces your own ability to pause and respond intentionally. It is also essential to remind yourself of long-term goals. Immediate expressions of anger rarely serve your broader objective. The pause allows you to align responses with your values, priorities, and desired outcomes. You ensure that actions are consistent with the person you want to become, rather than reactions dictated by transient emotion. Practicing gratitude helps reduce the intensity of anger. During the pause, consider what is positive in your life or the situation. Focusing on constructive elements counterbalances emotional spikes. Gratitude provides perspective and diminishes the sense of personal attack or injustice that fuels anger. Finally, repetition and consistency are crucial. Training yourself to pause is a skill developed over time. Each conscious effort, each moment of restraint, strengthens your ability to respond intentionally. Over weeks and months, this practice rewires habitual reactions, making calm reflection your default. Your interactions improve, your relationships stabilize, and your emotional energy is preserved for meaningful pursuits. When you train yourself to pause before letting anger show, you reclaim authority over your emotional life. You prevent unnecessary conflict, maintain your peace, and respond in ways that serve your goals and values. This habit transforms reactive tendencies into deliberate action, enhancing every area of life. The pause becomes a moment of power, a space where intention replaces impulse and clarity replaces chaos. By practicing awareness, reflection, breathing, mindfulness, visualization, and constructive questioning, you develop mastery over your emotional responses.
Anger is no longer an uncontrollable force, but a signal to act consciously. Each pause strengthens mental resilience, emotional intelligence, and personal growth. Over time, your capacity for composure expands, creating a life guided by deliberate choice rather than reaction.
Chapter 6. Focus on your life instead of chasing approval. Many people spend their entire lives seeking approval from others. They measure success by likes, compliments, recognition, or acceptance. They adjust their words, behaviors, and decisions to fit what they believe others want to see. They prioritize pleasing others over pursuing their own purpose. This habit of seeking external validation quietly steals joy, energy, and freedom. You cannot live fully when your attention is constantly directed at how others perceive you. The first step to personal mastery is choosing to focus on your life rather than the opinions of those around you. The problem begins in the mind. Every time you think, "I hope they like me," or "I need their approval," you hand over power that belongs to you. Your happiness becomes conditional, dictated by forces outside your control. External validation is fleeting. Praise may be given one moment and withdrawn the next. Criticism may sting more than it should. By centering your energy on yourself and your goals, you reclaim ownership of your emotional state. Your life becomes guided by purpose rather than the shifting opinions of others. The first step is awareness. Notice when your actions are motivated by approval seeking. Perhaps you agree with a viewpoint you do not believe in. Perhaps you overextend your time to impress someone. Maybe you downplay your ideas to avoid judgment. Awareness allows you to pause and reflect. Every time you catch yourself chasing validation, you have an opportunity to choose differently. Awareness is the foundation for change. Next, examine your beliefs about approval. Often, the desire for external validation stems from fear of rejection, judgment, or exclusion. Ask yourself, why do I need their approval? Does it truly define my worth? Understanding the root of this need allows you to challenge it. You realize that self-worth is not given by others, it is cultivated internally. You cannot rely on others for value. You'd assign it to yourself through consistent action, integrity, and focus on what matters to you. One of the most effective strategies is goal-centered living. When your attention is directed at meaningful goals, the need for approval diminishes naturally. You measure progress based on your own standards, rather than the reactions of others. Each completed task, each step toward mastery, provides intrinsic satisfaction. Over time, this internal sense of achievement outweighs any fleeting validation from outside sources. Focus on your own metrics of success rather than someone else's opinion. It is also critical to recognize the cost of approval seeking. Constantly trying to please others is exhausting. It drains energy, reduces clarity, and distracts from priority. When you prioritize the expectations of others, your time, focus, and creativity are diverted from building the life you want. Observing this cost creates motivation to shift attention inward. You realize that approval cannot sustain long-term fulfillment, but focus on your purpose will. Another important principle is learning to tolerate discomfort. Not everyone will like your choices, actions, or opinions. Some people may disagree with you or critique your work. That is normal. By focusing on your life, you accept that discomfort is part of the process. Disapproval from others does not diminish your value or competence. Training yourself to act in spite of potential judgment builds resilience and reinforces self-trust. Self-validation is a powerful tool in this process. Practice affirming your worth independently. Recognize your efforts, achievements, and growth without needing external acknowledgement. Celebrate small victories privately. This habit strengthens your confidence and reduces dependence on others' feedback. When you validate yourself first, external opinions lose power to disrupt your focus mood, or motivation. It is essential to identify triggers that heighten approval-seeking behavior. Social media, competitive environments, or certain relationships may amplify the need for validation. By observing these triggers, you can create strategies to minimize their influence. Limit exposure to environments that provoke unnecessary comparison or judgment. Protect your mental space to maintain clarity and focus on your own path. Reflection enhances your ability to stay centered. At the end of each day, review moments where approval-seeking arose. Ask yourself, did I act to satisfy someone else or to serve my purpose? How could I have prioritized my own goals and values? Reflection reinforces self-awareness and trains your mind to prioritize your own direction over external opinions. This process gradually rewires habitual responses and strengthens independence. Another strategy is to surround yourself with supportive individuals who respect autonomy. Positive relationships encourage growth without imposing approval-seeking behavior. Seek companions who value your perspective, effort, and integrity without demanding conformity. Healthy social connections reinforce self-confidence and reduce the need to constantly adjust for external validation. Focus is cultivated through consistent routines. Create habits that align with your goals and values. Daily practice of meaningful work strengthens the internal metric of success. The more time and effort you invest in building your own life, the less you are distracted by the desire for recognition. Routine and discipline anchor your focus and diminish the need to chase approval. It is also beneficial to reframe your perspective on feedback. Constructive criticism can guide growth, but it should not define your value. Evaluate feedback objectively. Is it useful, actionable, or aligned with your goals? Accept what helps you improve and discard what does not serve your purpose. This selective approach prevents external judgment from controlling your mindset while still allowing learning and adaptation. Mindfulness practice supports focus on your life. Staying present reduces attention to imagined judgments or comparison. Observe thoughts about approval without engaging them. Acknowledge their presence and redirect focus to actions that advance your life. Mindfulness strengthens your capacity to stay engaged with your own goals rather than distractions caused by others' opinions. Visualization is another effective technique. Imagine living a life fully aligned with your goals, independent of external approval. See yourself making decisions confidently, taking action without hesitation, and achieving results based on your standards. Visualizing independence reinforces neural patterns that support action without reliance on external validation. Over time, this becomes the default mindset. It is important to cultivate courage. Acting in alignment with your values and goals may lead to temporary discomfort when others disagree. Courage allows you to embrace this discomfort without compromising integrity or focus. Each courageous decision strengthens your ability to live independently, reducing reliance on approval as a measure of worth. Gratitude further strengthens focus. When attention is directed to what you already possess and accomplish, the need for external approval diminishes. Acknowledge your skills, experiences, and progress regularly. Gratitude shifts your mindset from seeking validation to recognizing intrinsic value. This shift empowers decision-making and reinforces self-directed living. Time management reinforces focus on your life. Schedule activities and priorities based on purpose rather than social expectations. Avoid overcommitting to please others. Direct your energy to actions that directly contribute to your growth, goals, and well-being. By managing time with intention, you protect yourself from distractions caused by the pursuit of approval. Journaling enhances clarity and independence. Document your progress, decisions, and reflections without seeking input from others.
Writing consolidates your internal understanding of self-worth, priorities, and achievements. It reinforces focus on your own journey and provides a reference to track growth over time. Another critical aspect is redefining success. Success should be measured by effort, progress, and alignment with values, rather than external recognition. When your definition of success is internal, you are less vulnerable to the fluctuating opinions of others. Internal metrics create stability, resilience, and independence. Accountability strengthens the habit of focusing on your life. Hold yourself responsible for your decisions, actions, and results. Avoid shifting responsibility to others' approval or judgment. Self-accountability reinforces autonomy and ensures that motivation is rooted in personal standards rather than external influence. Resilience develops naturally through repeated practice. Each time you act without seeking approval, you reinforce the habit of self-directed living. Resilience grows as you navigate challenges, criticism, and judgment without being swayed. The more resilient you become, the less others' opinions impact your focus, decisions, or emotional state. It is essential to monitor internal dialogue. Pay attention to thoughts like, "What will they think?" or "Do they approve?" Interrupt these thoughts and replace them with affirmations like, "I am responsible for my choices," or "My focus is on my life and growth." Rewriting internal dialogue strengthens independence and diminishes the pull of approval seeking. Reflection, mindfulness, courage, gratitude, and accountability work together to create a life directed by purpose rather than external opinions. Each moment you focus on your life, you gain clarity, strength, and freedom. The habit of seeking approval gradually diminishes as intrinsic motivation becomes the driver of action. You no longer measure worth by fleeting recognition, but by consistent progress toward meaningful goals. By consistently practicing these strategies, you cultivate independence, self-confidence, and emotional stability. External approval becomes a minor influence rather than a determinant of happiness or success. Life is lived intentionally, energy is preserved for meaningful pursuits, and decisions reflect purpose rather than the desire for acceptance. This habit reshapes relationships, enhances productivity, and strengthens personal satisfaction. Living in alignment with your own standards transforms every area of life. You act deliberately, think clearly, and move confidently toward goals without distraction. Energy is focused, emotions are stable, and attention is directed toward growth rather than comparison. Focusing on your life instead of chasing approval empowers you to create results, maintain peace, and experience fulfillment independently. Ultimately, the choice is yours. Every decision, action, and thought can either be guided by the need for approval or by your own purpose. Choosing focus over validation is a daily commitment. Each step toward independence strengthens your ability to live intentionally. Each act of self-directed effort builds confidence. Each moment of awareness reduces the power of others' opinions over your life. Over time, this focus becomes automatic, habitual, and unstoppable, shaping a life of freedom, purpose, and unwavering clarity.
Chapter 7. Replace overthinking with small actions that bring clarity. Overthinking is one of the most common traps that prevents people from moving forward in life. It is the silent thief of energy, clarity, and confidence. The mind gets stuck in loops of doubt, speculation, and worry, endlessly replaying scenarios without resolution. Most of the time, overthinking does not solve problems, it magnifies them. It clouds judgment, diminishes focus, and creates stress that has no productive purpose. The key to overcoming overthinking is replacing endless analysis with small, deliberate actions. Action transforms uncertainty into clarity, inertia into progress, and confusion into confidence. The first step is recognizing when you are overthinking. Notice the moments when your mind repeatedly circles the same thought or scenario without reaching a solution. You may find yourself imagining worst-case outcomes, replaying conversations, or questioning decisions repeatedly. These are signals that your mental energy is being trapped in a loop rather than being applied productively. Awareness of this pattern is crucial because you cannot change what you do not observe. Once you identify overthinking, it is important to acknowledge its effect on your life. Overthinking drains energy, delays action, and increases stress unnecessarily. It often creates a sense of paralysis, making decisions feel overwhelming. Recognizing the cost of overthinking builds motivation to interrupt it. You realize that thinking without action is an illusion of productivity, and that clarity comes not from pondering endlessly, but from doing. The next step is breaking the habit with small, concrete action. When facing a decision or problem, instead of analyzing every possible outcome, take one manageable step immediately. This could be sending a short email, making a single phone call, writing a paragraph, or taking a simple measurement of progress. Small actions have an outsized impact because they break the cycle of rumination and create forward momentum. Action fuels clarity by producing tangible results rather than imagined scenarios. It is important to understand the psychology behind overthinking. The brain often overanalyzes because it seeks certainty and control. It wants to anticipate every possible outcome to avoid failure or embarrassment. While this is natural, it is unrealistic. The future is inherently uncertain. You cannot control everything. Accepting uncertainty as part of life allows you to shift from mental speculation to purposeful action. By doing something small, you regain a sense of control and move closer to clarity. Another powerful strategy is decision batching. Many people overthink because they treat every decision, no matter how small, as monumental. By grouping decisions or establishing routines, you reduce mental friction. For example, decide on regular habits, like exercise, meal planning, or work priorities ahead of time. When choices are predetermined, your brain can focus on meaningful action rather than endless speculation. This reduces overthinking and frees energy for critical tasks. It is also helpful to create a clear priority list. When the mind is cluttered with too many tasks or potential outcomes, overthinking intensifies. Write down your most important objectives and focus on the next immediate step. Small, prioritized actions channel attention and create measurable progress. Each step completed builds confidence and reduces the mental clutter that fuels overthinking. Time-limited reflection is another effective tool. Allow yourself a defined period to think or plan, and then commit to action regardless of remaining uncertainty. For instance, give yourself 10 minutes to analyze a decision, then take a first step. This creates discipline and prevents endless deliberation. Structured reflection ensures that thinking serves action rather than becomes a substitute for it. Visualization can enhance clarity. Before acting, imagine the first step and its potential impact. Visualize the action unfolding smoothly and the benefits it produces. This reduces fear of the unknown, prepares your mind for execution, and increases confidence. Seeing a clear path in your mind makes small actions easier to take and diminishes hesitation caused by overthinking. It is also essential to manage perfectionism. Overthinking often thrives in the shadow of unrealistic expectations. People delay action because they want every detail to be flawless. The truth is that perfect conditions rarely exist. Waiting for perfect clarity leads to stagnation. Instead, focus on starting, adjusting, and improving as you go. Small actions produce feedback and reveal clarity that cannot be gained through speculation alone. Breaking overthinking also involves embracing mistakes as learning opportunities. Fear of making errors is a primary driver of rumination. Understand that mistakes are inevitable and provide critical information for growth. Each action taken, whether it succeeds or fails, contributes to knowledge and insight. By reframing mistakes as steps toward clarity, you reduce the paralyzing effect of overthinking and increase motivation to act. Another crucial strategy is grounding. Overthinking often occurs when the mind is untethered from reality. Engage the senses to anchor yourself in the present. Focus on what you can touch, see, hear, or do immediately. This reduces mental spiraling and channels attention into concrete action. Grounding creates a bridge between thought and execution, preventing ideas from remaining abstract and unproductive. Delegation is also a valuable tool. Overthinking often emerges when individuals feel solely responsible for solving every problem. Sharing tasks, seeking advice, or collaborating with others reduces mental load. Delegation provides perspective and allows you to take action collectively, rather than overanalyzing alone. It accelerates clarity, because multiple viewpoints often simplify complexity. Another element is accountability. Commit to small, measurable actions with deadlines. Knowing that you will report progress creates pressure to act instead of overthinking. Accountability transforms intention into tangible behavior. It motivates the mind to move from abstract planning to practical execution. Action naturally produces clarity and reduces the uncertainty that fuels mental loops. Journaling strengthens the replacement of overthinking with action. Writing down thoughts, potential steps, and reflections organizes the mind. Once thoughts are externalized on paper, the mental space clears. This process allows you to identify the most actionable items quickly and proceed without unnecessary speculation. Documentation also provides a record of progress, reinforcing the value of action over prolonged rumination. Another key approach is breaking large problems into micro steps. Overthinking escalates when challenges appear overwhelming. By dividing complex tasks into small, manageable actions, you reduce mental resistance. Each micro step is achievable, builds confidence, and clarifies the next logical move. Progress accumulates, and clarity emerges from consistent effort rather than continuous thought. Focus on momentum rather than completeness. Overthinking often arises from the need to understand every variable before acting. Momentum, however, comes from consistent, small actions that gradually reveal the path forward. Each step taken produces new information and reduces uncertain. Action creates insight, while contemplation alone prolongs doubt. It is also effective to limit information intake. Overthinking is fueled by excessive analysis, research, or comparison. When the brain is overloaded with possibilities, paralysis occurs. Set boundaries on the amount of data gathered, decide based on what is essential, and act. Simplifying inputs prevents mental congestion and encourages movement toward clarity. Self-talk influences the success of replacing overthinking with action. Monitor internal dialogue for phrases like, "What if I fail?" or "I need more time to think." Interrupt these patterns and replace them with statements like, "I will take one step now," or "Action reveals clarity." Positive, action-oriented self-talk reduces hesitation and reinforces momentum. Accountability partners or mentors can enhance this process. Sharing intentions for small actions with someone who encourages progress increases follow-through. External support motivates movement, provides perspective, and reduces the tendency to ruminate endlessly. Mentors can help identify the most productive actions and confirm when steps are sufficient to gain clarity.
Regular review and reflection strengthen the practice. At the end of each day or week, examine what actions produced clarity and what still requires attention. Reflection, without rumination, consolidates learning and directs future action. This process ensures that small steps compound into significant progress and that overthinking diminishes naturally over time. Physical routines complement mental strategies. Movement, exercise, or even simple stretching can reduce mental fatigue caused by overthinking. Activity stimulates blood flow and oxygen to the brain, which improves focus and decision-making. Physical action supports mental action, creating a cycle where movement and clarity reinforce each other. Mindfulness practice also enhances the transition from thought to action. Observing thoughts without attachment prevents prolonged rumination. Noticing when the mind stalls in speculation allows you to redirect energy toward concrete steps. Mindfulness trains the brain to act in the present rather than becoming trapped in imagined scenarios. Another principle is celebrating small wins. Each completed action, no matter how minor, reduces uncertainty and builds confidence. Recognition of progress, even if incremental, motivates continued movement. Small actions compound, creating clarity and reinforcing the habit of replacing overthinking with doing. Ultimately, replacing overthinking with small actions shifts control from passive speculation to active creation. Each step produces feedback, reduces uncertainty, and strengthens confidence. Over time, habitual action becomes the default, and mental loops lose their power. The mind becomes a tool for execution, rather than a trap for endless contemplation. By integrating awareness, small deliberate steps, prioritization, mindfulness, journaling, and accountability, you transform overthinking into productive clarity. Action generates insight, builds momentum, and produces measurable results. Each choice to act, no matter how small, reinforces independence from mental paralysis and cultivates a sense of mastery over your life. Taking consistent small actions teaches the brain that clarity emerges from doing rather than endless speculation. This habit strengthens decision-making, improves focus, and increases emotional stability. Overthinking diminishes because the mind learns that resolution comes through movement, experimentation, and incremental progress. Action becomes the primary response to uncertainty. By making action your first response and overthinking your last, you gain mental freedom. You reclaim energy, reduce stress, and create measurable progress. Life becomes defined by results, insight, and growth, rather than hesitation and doubt. Clarity emerges naturally when the mind is paired with deliberate, intentional steps. Each action builds confidence and demonstrates that small, consistent effort outperforms endless thought every time.
Chapter 8. Protect your mind from gossip, criticism, and drama. Life constantly presents opportunities for our minds to be invaded by gossip, criticism, and drama. These forces are everywhere in workplaces, social circles, families, and even casual online interactions. Left unchecked, they infiltrate thoughts, shape moods, and influence behavior. The subtle danger is that most people allow this influence without realizing it. They absorb opinions and narratives that are not theirs, and their focus, energy, and peace of mind slowly erode. Protecting your mind is not about ignoring reality. It is about choosing what to engage with, what to internalize, and what to dismiss. True freedom and clarity begin when you learn to guard your mental space against these destructive influences. The first step is awareness. Notice when you feel unsettled after hearing gossip or criticism. Pay attention to changes in mood, tension in your body, or racing thoughts that follow exposure to drama. These feelings are signals that external negativity has infiltrated your mind. Awareness gives you the chance to intervene and prevent these influences from dictating your emotional state. Recognizing that your mind is under attack is the first act of defense. Next, evaluate the source. Not all opinions or conversations hold value. Determine whether the person or group sharing information has credibility, good intentions, or insight relevant to your life. Many individuals engage in gossip or drama for attention, manipulation, or entertainment, rather than truth or growth. Filtering input based on source protects your mind from unnecessary mental clutter. Not everything presented as fact deserves your focus. Boundaries are essential for mental protection. Limit your exposure to conversations or environments where gossip, criticism, or drama is frequent. You are not responsible for the actions or words of others, and you do not need to participate in negative exchanges. Walking away or disengaging is not avoidance. It is a deliberate act self-preservation. Boundaries safeguard your energy and create space for clear thought and constructive action. It is also critical to manage internal reactions. Gossip and criticism often provoke strong emotions, such as anger, resentment, or anxiety. By training yourself to pause and observe these reactions, you prevent external negativity from controlling your behavior. A few deep breaths, a moment of reflection, or silent acknowledgement allows you to respond consciously rather than reacting impulsively. Emotional discipline is key to mental protection. Another important practice is separating facts from opinions. Gossip and drama are usually subjective narratives, often exaggerated or distorted. Criticism may be influenced by bias, jealousy, or personal perspective. By questioning the accuracy and relevance of what you hear, you prevent your mind from internalizing false or misleading information. Reality is defined by facts and your own experience, not by the stories others create around you. It is also helpful to cultivate selective listening. You can hear someone without absorbing their negativity. Focus on extracting useful insights, if they exist, and dismiss the rest. This allows you to remain informed without letting gossip, criticism, or drama disrupt your emotional equilibrium. Listening with filters is an advanced skill that maintains awareness without surrendering your peace. Protecting your mind also involves controlling your own responses. Even when exposed to negativity, you have the power to choose your reaction. Refuse to engage in gossip or retaliatory criticism. Avoid spreading drama further. When you respond calmly or choose silence, you deny external negativity the power to escalate and affect you or others. Your response shapes the influence that external factors have on your life. Mindfulness strengthens your defenses. Observe when gossip or drama arises, both externally and internally. Notice the thoughts, judgments, and emotions that follow. By staying present and detached, you reduce the tendency to ruminate or internalize negative. Mindfulness builds a buffer between exposure and reaction, allowing your mind to remain clear, focused, and resilient. Another essential element is self-validation. Criticism often gains power when you tie it to your self-worth. Remind yourself that your value is determined by your actions, integrity, and effort, not by external judgments. By validating yourself internally, you reduce the influence of others' opinions and maintain clarity in decision-making. Confidence built from within is impervious to most negative commentary. Journaling or reflection can reinforce mental boundaries. After encountering gossip, criticism, or drama, write down the events and your responses. Evaluate whether the information is true, relevant, or necessary. Reflection organizes thoughts, separates fact from fiction, and reinforces your ability to dismiss unproductive negativity. This habit strengthens cognitive control and reduces the mental clutter that drama creates. Physical separation also protects your mind. Sometimes, removing yourself from environments or interactions where gossip and drama dominate is necessary. Spending time in calm, focused settings allows your mind to recover and maintain clarity. The physical act of distancing reinforces the mental practice of boundary setting. Another strategy is focusing on constructive action. When negativity arises, redirect attention to tasks, goals, or projects that provide tangible value. Action shifts energy from reaction to creation. When your mind is occupied with meaningful work, gossip, criticism, and drama lose their hold. Productivity reinforces mental resilience and reduces susceptibility to distractions. It is also critical to cultivate discernment in social connections. Relationships with habitual critics, drama seekers, or gossipers can drain energy and erode focus. Evaluate the impact of these relationships on your mental well-being. Limit exposure to those who consistently create negativity. Surround yourself with individuals who encourage growth, positivity, and constructive dialogue. The company you keep influences the quality of your thoughts and the clarity of your mind. Developing emotional intelligence supports mental protection. Recognize the underlying motives behind gossip or criticism. Often, negativity reflects the insecurities, frustrations, or agendas of others rather than a reflection of your worth or abilities. Understanding this reduces the emotional impact and prevents internalization of harmful narrative. Perspective transforms external noise into neutral data rather than distressing stimuli. Gratitude enhances resilience. Regularly acknowledging what is positive, productive, and meaningful in your life reduces the power of gossip, criticism, and drama. Gratitude anchors the mind in reality, emphasizing what truly matters rather than distractions created by others' narratives. When your attention is grounded in value, negativity cannot easily sway your focus or mood. Time management is another important element. Avoid situations that routinely involve unnecessary gossip or criticism. Schedule interactions purposefully and prioritize meaningful conversations. By controlling exposure, you reduce opportunities for external negativity to infiltrate your thought. Intentional timing and engagement reinforce mental boundaries and allow you to preserve energy for productive activities. It is also helpful to practice cognitive reframing. When exposed to criticism, ask yourself whether it contains actionable insight or is merely opinion. When encountering gossip, consider whether it holds value or is irrelevant. This approach prevents automatic absorption and shifts your perception from reactive to analytical. Cognitive reframing converts potential mental attacks into opportunities for assessment and improvement. Visualization supports mental protection. Imagine yourself surrounded by a shield that filters out gossip, criticism, and drama. Visualize negativity bouncing off and clarity remaining intact. This mental exercise strengthens emotional and cognitive resilience and reinforces the practice of conscious filtering in real situations. Self-discipline is crucial. Resist the temptation to engage in negative conversations or respond impulsively to criticism. Consistently choosing calm, neutral, or constructive responses develops a habit that gradually eliminates the influence of external drama on your emotional state. Discipline transforms intention into automatic protective behavior. Another element is self-compassion. Recognize that encountering gossip, criticism, and drama is inevitable. Treat yourself kindly when these events arise, without blaming yourself for feeling affected initially. Self-compassion supports recovery and reinforces the habit of maintaining mental clarity despite external negativity. Education and learning also empower mental protection. Study human behavior, psychology, and communication patterns to understand why people engage in gossip or criticism. Knowledge reduces surprise and emotional reactivity. It provides insight that allows you to navigate social dynamics with calm, control, and strategic thinking.
Reflection and journaling after exposure consolidate lessons learned. Analyze how you reacted, what influenced your thoughts, and how you can respond better next time. Recording these insights strengthens awareness and reinforces the skill of protecting your mind consistently. Accountability reinforces progress. Share your intention to maintain mental clarity with a mentor, coach, or trusted friend. This external support motivates consistent application of strategies and provides perspective when challenges arise. Accountability partners can remind you to detach from unnecessary negativity and remain focused on what truly matters. Breathing techniques help regulate physiological responses when encountering criticism or gossip. Rapid heartbeat, tension, and shallow breathing often accompany exposure to drama. Deliberate, slow breaths calm the nervous system, allowing rational thought and conscious response. Physical regulation strengthens mental resilience and prevents automatic emotional absorption. It is also helpful to develop a proactive focus on solutions rather than problems. Drama often revolves around conflict, blame, or hypothetical scenarios. By redirecting attention toward actionable steps, you reclaim mental energy and maintain clarity. Action reinforces control and diminishes the influence of external negativity. Mindset reframing is another critical tool. View gossip or criticism as a reflection of others' perspectives rather than your reality. Adopt the belief that you are in charge of your thoughts and emotional state. This mindset reduces the likelihood that negativity will penetrate your mental space. Finally, consistency is key. Protecting your mind requires repeated practice. Every time you filter gossip, detach from drama, or respond constructively to criticism, you reinforce neural pathways that support mental independence. Over time, this habit becomes automatic, creating a stable, resilient, and clear mindset regardless of external circumstances. When you consistently apply these strategies, you gain mental freedom. Your focus sharpens, energy is preserved, and emotional stability strengthens. Gossip, criticism, and drama no longer dictate your mood, decisions, or actions. Instead, you navigate life intentionally, prioritizing your goals, relationships, and personal growth. Mental protection becomes a lifelong habit, empowering you to operate with clarity, calm, and purpose in any environment.
Chapter 9. Strengthen your patience by observing without taking personally. Patience is one of the most undervalued strengths in life, yet it is one of the most powerful tools you can develop. Many people live as though every slight, every criticism, and every inconvenience is a personal attack. They react immediately, letting frustration dictate behavior. They allow others' words and actions to shape their mood and choices. This pattern leads to unnecessary stress, broken relationships, and wasted energy. The key to true patience is learning to observe life, events, and people without internalizing every action or comment as a personal reflection. By stepping back and maintaining emotional distance, you develop the ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. The first step is awareness. Notice the moments when your patience is tested. Perhaps someone interrupts you, criticizes your work, or expresses anger toward you. Observe the immediate emotional response. Recognize tension in the body, rising irritation, or racing thoughts. These signals are your mind and body reacting naturally. Awareness allows you to insert a pause, a moment to choose observation over reaction. When you consciously notice your internal state, you reclaim control over your response. Next, shift perspective. Understand that most behavior from others is not truly about you. People operate based on their beliefs, emotions, and experiences, not yours. When someone acts impatiently, aggressively, or critically, it reflects their state, not your value or competence. Observing behavior without personalizing it removes the emotional trigger. Patience grows when you stop absorbing the weight of others' moods and actions. Another essential strategy is detachment. Detachment is not indifference. It is the conscious choice to separate your emotional state from external events. When someone criticizes or challenges you, observe the behavior objectively. Ask yourself what is factual, what is opinion, and what is irrelevant. By maintaining this separation, you prevent unnecessary emotional turbulence and cultivate resilience. The more you practice detachment, the more naturally patience arises. It is also vital to understand the role of expectation in testing patience. Frustration often occurs because events do not align with what you anticipate. You expect people to act a certain way, situations to resolve instantly, or outcomes to match your timeline. When reality diverges, irritation surfaces. By adjusting expectations and accepting that life unfolds differently than you predict, you reduce triggers for impatience. Observation without judgment becomes easier when expectations are realistic. Mindfulness strengthens your ability to observe without taking things personally. Pay attention to the present moment, noting actions, words and events without labeling them as good or bad. Observe thoughts and emotions as they arise without immediately reacting. Mindfulness trains the brain to pause between stimulus and response, allowing patience to emerge naturally. Each moment of observation strengthens control and diminishes emotional reactivity. Another powerful approach is emotional labeling. When confronted with difficult behavior, identify your feelings internally. Say to yourself, "I notice irritation" or "I feel frustrated." Labeling emotions reduces their intensity and creates distance. By naming what you experience, you acknowledge it without being consumed by it. This practice allows for thoughtful responses rather than immediate reaction. Perspective taking further strengthens patience. Consider the reasons behind someone's actions. Perhaps they are stressed, distracted, or operating under pressure. Understanding the context reduces the tendency to personalize behavior. When you interpret actions as data rather than attacks, patience is reinforced. Observation becomes a tool for insight instead of a trigger for emotional response. Another crucial aspect is controlling internal dialogue. Monitor thoughts that reinforce personal offense, such as, "They are attacking me" or "This is unfair to me." Interrupt these narratives and replace them with objective observations. "This is an action that happened," or "This is their perspective." Changing your internal script prevents emotional escalation and fosters calm endurance. Breathing and physical awareness complement mental strategies. When patience is challenged, notice tension in the body. Slow, deep breaths calm the nervous system and provide space between stimulus and response. Relaxed posture and steady breathing reinforce observation and reduce impulsive reactions. Physical control strengthens mental control, making patience easier to sustain. Time is another tool for cultivating patience. When you resist the urge to react instantly, you allow situations to unfold naturally. Delaying response creates opportunities for additional information, perspective, and understanding. By observing patiently, you see patterns and motivations that immediate reaction would obscure. Over time, patience transforms from conscious effort to instinctive behavior. It is also valuable to reflect on personal triggers. Identify the specific words, actions, or situations that most easily provoke emotional reaction. Understanding these patterns allows you to anticipate challenges and prepare responses in advance. Observation without personalization becomes more natural when you recognize the circumstances that historically test your patience. Gratitude supports this process. When faced with frustrating behavior, consciously note what is positive or neutral in the situation. Recognize aspects you control and focus on constructive elements. Gratitude shifts attention from perceived offense to personal empowerment. This mental reorientation reduces the emotional charge of others' actions and enhances patience. Journaling reinforces growth. After challenging interactions, write down what occurred, your response, and alternative ways to observe without personalizing. Review entries to identify improvement and patterns. Recording experiences strengthens self-awareness and encourages deliberate practice of patience. Written reflection provides insight that observation alone may not reveal. Another key practice is reframing criticism. View negative comments as information rather than judgment. Consider whether any elements provide actionable insight. Separate constructive input from unhelpful negativity. This approach transforms potential emotional triggers into opportunities for improvement while maintaining equanimity. Observation without taking things personally allows you to act strategically rather than react emotionally. Visualization can also reinforce patience. Imagine challenging interactions unfolding while you remain calm, composed, and detached. Picture observing behavior, noting emotions internally, and responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. Rehearsing these scenarios strengthens neural pathways, making patient observation your default response in real life. Limiting exposure to chronic negativity supports mental endurance, while patience involves observing challenges. Constant immersion in toxic environments can erode resilience. Create boundaries that protect your mental space while practicing patience. Balanced exposure allows you to develop skill without being overwhelmed by constant provocation. It is also essential to cultivate empathy. Understanding the pressures, fears, or motives behind someone's behavior reduces the tendency to personalize action. Empathy does not justify harm, but it creates perspective. Observing others with compassion strengthens patience, enabling thoughtful response instead of immediate defensiveness or anger. Self-compassion is critical as well. Patience is a skill that develops gradually. Do not judge yourself harshly when emotions rise, despite efforts to observe calmly. Acknowledge progress, note challenges, and recommit to mindful observation. Compassion reinforces resilience and encourages continuous improvement in emotional management. Another effective approach is problem-solving orientation. When you encounter challenging behavior, focus on actionable steps rather than dwelling on offense. Observation without personalizing allows you to see solutions clearly. Your energy is directed toward constructive outcomes rather than emotional reaction. Each success reinforces the value of patience and deliberate observation. Routine reflection amplifies progress. At the end of each day, consider moments where you maintained composure and observed behavior without taking offense. Note what worked, what triggered difficulty, and what strategies strengthened patience. Consistent reflection solidifies mental habits and reinforces growth in emotional resilience. Accountability partners or mentors can enhance skill development. Sharing your goal to observe without personalizing behavior with a trusted individual increases commitment and provides feedback. External support encourages consistency and reinforces the habit of mindful observation. Accountability ensures that growth is reinforced by both internal practice and external perspective. Breathing combined with visualization strengthens physiological and psychological control. Deep breath, calm immediate emotional responses, while visualizing calm composure anchors the mind. These techniques create a buffer between stimulus and reaction, allowing observation to take precedence over automatic emotional response. Repetition and consistency are key to mastery. Each moment of patient observation, no matter how small, strengthens neural pathways that support deliberate, calm responses. The brain learns that emotional triggers do not require instant reaction. Gradually, patience becomes instinctive, mental clarity increases, and resilience grows. Focus on long-term benefits reinforces practice. Immediate reactions often satisfy impulse, but create stress, tension, and regret. Observing without taking things personally prevents unnecessary conflict, preserves relationships, and supports decision-making aligned with goals and values. Patience produces enduring benefits that impulsive reactions cannot. Another strategy is detachment from narrative. Avoid constructing stories about why someone acted a certain way or what it means about you. Observing behavior objectively, without building personal narratives, reduces emotional intensity. Detachment enhances clarity
and allows rational, thoughtful responses instead of emotional reaction. Finally, practicing gratitude, mindfulness, empathy, detachment, and self-compassion together creates a resilient mind. Patience is not simply waiting. It is a deliberate practice of observing life, people, and events while maintaining emotional control. Each moment of calm observation strengthens character, improves relationships, and fosters mental clarity. Over time, patience transforms from effortful practice to a natural state of being, guiding actions, decisions, and emotions with composure and insight. Strengthening patience through observation without taking things personally allows you to maintain focus, reduce stress, and navigate life with clarity and stability. It creates space between stimulus and response, transforms emotional energy into constructive action, and protects your mental space from unnecessary intrusion. The practice cultivates resilience, emotional intelligence, and personal mastery. Life becomes less reactive, more intentional, and profoundly empowering.
Chapter 10. Choose calm over chaos every single moment of life. Life is full of situations designed to test your focus, patience, and composure. Every day brings moments where circumstances, people, or unexpected events threaten to pull you into chaos. Traffic delays, rude comments, missed deadlines, uncooperative colleagues, or sudden changes can ignite tension instantly. Most people allow these situations to control their mood, their energy, and their choices. They react emotionally, making decisions based on fear, anger, or frustration rather than clarity and purpose. Choosing calm over chaos is not a passive act. It is an active, deliberate, and chance decision that shapes every moment of your life. It is a skill that transforms stress into stability, disruption into focus, and confusion into opportunity. The first step is awareness. Observe your reactions in challenging situations. Notice when tension rises in your body, when your thoughts speed up, or when anxiety pushes your mind toward impulsive decisions. These signals are not weaknesses, they are indicators that your state of mind is being influenced by external forces. Awareness allows you to interrupt automatic responses. By identifying these moments, you gain the ability to choose calm intentionally instead of reacting to chaos unconsciously. Next, take control of your breathing. The body and mind are deeply connected. When faced with disruption, breathing often becomes shallow, rapid, and erratic. This physiological response intensifies emotional reactions. By deliberately taking slow, deep breaths, you signal to your body and mind that the situation can be handled. Controlled breathing creates space between stimulus and reaction, giving clarity a chance to emerge. Calmness becomes accessible through a simple, consistent practice of breath awareness. Focus on perspective. Often what feels like chaos in the moment is temporary and smaller than it appears. Pause and ask yourself whether this event will matter in a day, a week, or a month. Will it affect your long-term goals or values? Most disruptions are minor in the larger scheme of life. By shifting perspective, you prevent temporary problems from dictating emotional states. Calm is strengthened when you see life through the lens of what truly matters. Another essential step is separating what you can control from what you cannot. Chaos often arises when you attempt to manage variables outside your influence. People, circumstances, or unexpected events are often beyond your direct control. By directing energy toward what is actionable and letting go of what is not, you conserve mental and emotional resources. Focusing on controllable actions fosters a sense of competence and stability, even amidst external disorder. It is also important to slow down. When chaos strikes, instinct is often to rush decisions, respond immediately, or react emotionally. Slowing your thoughts, actions, and speech creates space to analyze and respond effectively. Time is a powerful ally in choosing calm. Deliberate pacing prevents impulsive mistakes, reduces stress, and strengthens your ability to remain centered under pressure. Mindfulness practice enhances calmness. Observe events without attaching judgment or creating mental stories about them. Notice sensations, thoughts, and emotions without letting them dictate action. Mindfulness trains the brain to experience life as it is, rather than as a narrative influenced by fear or anger. Each moment of observation without automatic reaction reinforces the habit of choosing calm over chaos. Accept that life will present challenges, surprises, and disruptions. Resisting reality amplifies stress and fuels chaos. Acceptance does not mean passivity or resignation. It means acknowledging the situation, understanding its presence, and choosing to respond with focus rather than frustration. Calm grows when resistance is replaced by practical acknowledgement and deliberate action. It is also beneficial to practice mental reframing. Instead of viewing disruptions as problems, consider them as opportunities to practice composure, build resilience, or test your skill at decision-making under pressure. Reframing transforms emotional responses from reactive to proactive. Chaos becomes a training ground, not a trap. Each challenge offers insight and strengthens your capacity to remain centered. Visualization supports calmness in real time. Picture yourself handling situations with composure, clarity, and confidence. Imagine speaking calmly, acting decisively, and maintaining focus regardless of external noise. Repeated mental rehearsal strengthens neural pathways, making calm responses habitual. Visualization trains both mind and body to act with stability under stress, creating a natural inclination towards serenity even when circumstances are tense. Another essential factor is preparation. Anticipate potential stresses and plan your responses. Prepare mentally for meetings, conversations, and situations where conflict or disruption is likely. When the mind is prepared, calmness is easier to access because uncertainty and surprise no longer dominate emotional reaction. Preparation provides confidence and reduces the likelihood of impulsive responses to chaos. Patience is critical. Chaos often tempts you to act immediately, react strongly, or attempt to force outcomes. Choosing calm requires the discipline to wait, observe, and respond thoughtfully. Patience allows for rational analysis, measured decisions, and clear communication. Each moment practiced strengthens emotional regulation and reinforces the habit of prioritizing calm over reactive engagement. It is also valuable to create routines and habits that anchor stability. Morning rituals, consistent exercise, meditation, and goal-oriented work cultivate baseline calmness. When internal systems are organized, external chaos has less influence. A structured life provides internal predictability that acts as a buffer against disruptive events. Calm becomes a default state rather than a reactionary response. Replace thoughts like, "This is unbearable," or "I cannot handle this," with statements such as, "I can respond thoughtfully," or "I choose focus over fear." Language shapes perception and emotional response. Constructive self-talk reinforces the ability to maintain composure under pressure. Empathy supports calmness as well. When chaos involves other people, consider their perspective. Often, disruptive behavior comes from stress, misunderstanding, or personal struggle. Observing behavior with empathy prevents automatic personal offense and reduces emotional reactivity. Calm arises when you interpret actions objectively rather than as personal attacks. Gratitude also strengthens composure. Even in chaotic moments, identifying aspects of your situation that are positive or manageable shifts mental focus. Gratitude redirects attention from frustration to recognition of stability, resources, or control. This shift reduces the perceived intensity of chaos
and reinforces emotional balance. Reflection enhances growth in maintaining calm. After encountering a stressful or chaotic situation, review what happened, how you responded, and what strategies succeeded or failed. Reflection allows learning without judgment and strengthens future performance. Each review consolidates the habit of choosing calm, turning isolated experiences into consistent practice. Limiting exposure to unnecessary triggers is equally important. While complete avoidance is not always possible, reducing contact with highly stressful or toxic environments protects mental resources. Selecting environments that support focus, composure, and positive engagement reinforces the ability to respond calmly in more challenging settings. Another essential skill is decision-making under stress. Chaos often disrupts clarity and increases impulsivity. By breaking decisions into smaller steps, prioritizing what matters, and acting deliberately, you maintain control. Each intentional choice strengthens confidence and reinforces calm over reactive behavior. Physical awareness complements mental strategies. Stress manifests in tension, rapid heartbeat, and shallow breathing. Noticing physical cues allows intervention before emotional reactivity escalates. Stretching, posture adjustment, or brief movement restores equilibrium. Body regulation directly supports mental composure. Visualization of long-term goals also maintains perspective. Chaos feels urgent because immediate events appear critical. Remind yourself of larger priorities and long-term objectives. When you view events within the context of meaningful goals, transient disruptions lose emotional power. Calmness is reinforced by purpose and perspective, rather than reaction to fleeting circumstances. Boundaries are necessary for mental protection. Limit interactions or situations likely to provoke unnecessary tension. Protecting personal space and energy reinforces internal stability. Boundaries create an environment conducive to calm, reducing exposure to unpredictable chaos. Another effective approach is problem-focused thinking. When confronted with disruption, shift energy toward constructive solutions, rather than dwelling on the negative. Observing the problem, identifying what is actionable, and implementing solutions diverts attention from emotional turbulence to productive action. Calmness grows when energy is applied purposefully. Journaling supports long-term resilience. Recording experiences, responses, and lessons provides perspective, reinforces growth, and solidifies the habit of measured response. Documentation converts chaotic experiences into structured reflection, reinforcing the practice of calm over emotional reaction. Accountability strengthens consistency. Sharing the intention to prioritize calm with a mentor, coach, or trusted friend encourages adherence to principles during stressful situations. External support reinforces internal habits and maintains motivation for deliberate, controlled response. Repetition and consistency create mastery. Each time you choose calm over chaos, neural pathways strengthen. Emotional responses gradually shift from impulsive to deliberate. Calm becomes instinctive, composure becomes habitual, and mental clarity persists regardless of external circumstance. The more frequently this practice is applied, the more natural it becomes. Finally, choosing calm every moment transforms life fundamentally. Stress diminishes, energy is preserved, and focus remains directed toward meaningful priority. Relationships improve as responses become measured and thoughtful. Decision-making is clearer. Productivity increases, and personal satisfaction grows. Calm is not the absence of challenges, but the deliberate mastery of response. Each choice to remain composed reinforces resilience, focus, and purpose, turning chaotic circumstances into opportunities for growth and measured action. The power of calm is cumulative. Each interaction handled thoughtfully, each stressful situation navigated with composure, and each challenge met with steady observation, strengthens the mind and character. Calm is contagious, influencing others and creating more stable environments. Life becomes navigable, decisions are guided by clarity rather than emotion, and success is achieved with consistent, deliberate action rather than reactive chaos.